Obviously, Mormons are not understanding what an algorithm is.
Shouldn't be watching this stuff. Stop watching it. Just leave me alone as she's injecting her content into all these LDS hashtags.
There's a reason why the main founders behind social media companies do not let their kids onto social media.
And now it's time to consider the path of your feet, for crying out loud.
So today we're going to be considering the path of a delightful young woman who has taken to Instagram to basically scream her problems from the rooftop of Instagram about an education. She needs a training that she is going to give to all members of the church. So let us watch and be trained from on high.
Okay, I think this needs to be talked about because obviously Mormons are not understanding what an algorithm is. So let me teach you what an algorithm is, okay? Do you need to take notes? Okay, listen. If you're Mormon and you get a video like this and you like it, or you comment, or you share, or you just look at it and you just stay on it for a long amount of time, your little computer that you're on, your phone, is going to say, hey, they like this. Let's give them more. And you're going to be like, but I don't like it. It pisses me off. And I just want to be angry all the time and be this angry Mormon. You could save yourself a lot of grief if you just didn't watch this stuff. And if you comment on them and you're like, oh, praying for you. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. And now you're going to get more ex-Mormon stuff, just what you asked for. Okay. Does that sum it up for you? Do you understand that? Like if you stay on this video and you've been watching it, you're still here, you're still going to get ex-Mormon stuff, and it's going to get worse and worse and more dark, and you're going to hate it. Or you're going to embrace it and you're going to leave the church and you'll be like, oh, thank you, Leah, so much. Let me know what really is the truth. Does that make any sense? Anyways, this is really me. Some people don't like it because I intimidate them, and I'm also very opinionated. But you know what? I'm actually really quiet in person, and I'm very down to earth. Just when I have an opinion on something, and I have a camera in front of me and no audience, and no pressure is on, I can tell you anything that's on my mind. I can share anything with you because I feel comfortable enough doing that. And sometimes it scares people because I'm so honest, but, I say to that, then go away and don't watch this video anymore. See, it's been 2 minutes and 7 seconds. So if you are Mormon and you're still watching this, or if you are just like, ooh, I hate this girl, you should probably just get off, because this is going to keep happening, and my face is going to pop up on your screen every time you get on Instagram. So I just suggest, if you don't want to be around it, just get the heck away. Oh, I did that without cussing. Okay, well, anyways, yes, algorithms, now you know.
Okay. I guess now we know. That was delightful. That was wonderful. Very well said, and very graciously said as well. There is one little piece that I want to point out while we're sharing screens here. So let me see if I can zoom in just real quick. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. So she's saying, quit commenting on my videos because you don't even need to be here. Let me see. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see all of them, but you can see enough. You see these hashtags over here? You see that? So anytime you put a hashtag on social media, you're going to be putting your video in that channel that supports that hashtag. So for example, let's say you're a member of the church and you want to follow the church, and the church uses a hashtag called maybe something like LDS or Book of Mormon or LDS Mission or even hashtag Jesus. If you follow any of those and then she starts using all of those hashtags, guess what? She's going to start jumping right into your feed. And if we can take a look at this little post right here, oh, look at that. It uses every single one of those.
What do you know?
So
that Oh man, I've commented on like maybe 3 Instagram posts in my entire life, and this was one of them because it bothered me so much. Because it's either like the worst self-own I've ever seen, where she's completely ignorant to how hashtags works, yet she's berating everybody about algorithms, or
Yeah.
it's just like the most bad faith post I've ever seen, gaslighting people, saying, you shouldn't be watching this stuff. Stop watching it. Just leave me alone. As she's injecting her content into all these, LDS hashtags. It bothered me so bad that I had to type something out and be like, hey, I don't know, you must know this, but you're intentionally getting in front of people's faces who are pro LDS, and you are saying go away. Like that's just bizarre.
Right,
If you
right.
walked into somebody's house and slapped them and said, why are you following me? I'd be like, I'm not, like,
Right.
so I don't want to get too much after her, because I started watching a couple of her other videos, and it's a roller coaster. She's really struggling with something.
She's going through something right now. Yeah.
There's a lot of anger and a lot of pain there, and it comes out in there's a lot of information she's sharing with everybody. I feel bad for her. She's not a happy
Emotions
person
come from
right
a lot
now.
of places. 100%.
Yeah, so she's exiting her religion in a very painful and very public way. And I would prefer that people don't do it that way, but if she wants to do it that way, that's okay. She just needs to know that if she's going to tag the church and all the church hashtags in it, she's going to get a lot of members commenting and watching. Like, it's not the members' fault. They're over there following the LDS hashtag to get the latest quotes from General Conference, and all of a sudden her post pops in because she put it there. So it's like, hey, maybe don't do that. If you don't like people being mad at you for your stuff, they feel intruded upon because you injected your content into their hashtag, their channel. That they're defending themselves, and you feel like you're being attacked because you get a bunch of negative comments on your video. It's your fault. Please don't do that anymore, unless you're just trying to get rage bait out of people. Then stop whining about algorithms because you don't understand how they work at that point. If that's the case, like, you should just own up to the wave that you caused to crash upon your own beach there.
Ooh, that was poetic. I liked that. So here's the deal. There's this kid. This reminds me of this kid in high school, and he was kind of a goober kid. And every now and then he would show up to school in a ghillie suit. Do you know what a ghillie suit is?
Yeah, like the sniper camo,
Yeah,
completely covered.
right
yeah.
here. Let me show some images. So these are ghillie suits right here. So I had a kid show up in high school regularly that would just wear one of these, and he would just walk around like business as usual. And then anytime somebody was like, hey, Brandon, Halloween was like 4 months ago, what are you doing, buddy? He'd be like, oh, what? I'm just wearing my ghillie suit. It's fine, and he was so taken aback by the fact that people were commenting on his ghillie suit, and at a certain point, one time, maybe genuinely he didn't have any other clothes that were clean, and he was like, I gotta throw this on. But after weeks and weeks and months of seeing it, you start to wonder if it's intentional. You start to wonder if like the reason for the ghillie suit was he wanted people to react. He wanted that reaction. Similar to how this gal, it seems like she's trying to stir up some kind of feelings in people. She certainly, I know she probably said that as graciously as she possibly could have, However, I don't know. I feel like contention is kind of the goal there for her.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, being ultra condescending on that point, like with your tiny computer, and like being very condescending to the audience, while either manifesting a complete lack of knowledge of how it works, or knowing how it works but just gaslighting everybody on it. Just kind of like really twist the knife on that one. It's like, hey, you're obviously not handling the hate well from all the members that you're getting. It's not, because a lot of her videos are like, she's struggling with the amount of negative feedback she's getting and the criticism she's getting from her channel. So I don't know why she's poking the bear like this, and like she's trying to gaslight people into thinking that it's their fault and not her fault. But it's it's really not appropriate.
So my question is, what is the problem? So you have this one-off account. This gal is out there. She's using these pro LDS hashtags in her posts. Why can't people just scroll past it? Why can't they just block, scroll past it, and be fine? Why can't they just move on?
Well, it doesn't stop there because, as you know, the Book of Mormon, or was it Mormon Stories, the podcast right there?
Yeah.
They use all the pro LDS hashtags. Alyssa Grenfell uses all the pro LDS hashtags. Zelf on the Shelf, like all these anti-Mormon channels use the pro LDS hashtags to get rage bait from members, right? Or to destabilize existing members' testimonies. You know, like they're using those all the time to inject their content into the hashtags that the church uses and that faithful members of the church use to share their content with each other.
Right.
So it's quite nefarious, actually. Like it's happening all the time. And your kids, when they get on Instagram, you think, oh, they can follow the church and they can follow the leaders of the church and they'll be fine. They'll only get good content out of that. Not necessarily, right? If these other small XMO channels are using those hashtags, occasionally your kid will stumble upon one of them. It'll get popped into their feed. They'll watch it. And like she so condescendingly said in her little video there, it'll start generating more of those based on their engagement with it. So there's a bunch of little hooks that they place along the algorithm to snag people and blow up different channels or threads that these people are just setting out there for the youth, for any faithful member who's following those hashtags.
Right, because algorithms are designed for engagement. They're not designed for truth. And so if something is engaging and somebody watches it, like, for example, let's say that there's a lady out there, just random example, who is just screaming, shouting from the housetops, about something. And you're like, oh my word, what is this lady shouting about? Why is she so mad and angry? And then you realize, oh, this is anti-Mormon stuff. And then you scroll away. You might be like halfway through the video at that point, and you might then get your way into an entire algorithm of anti-content, an entire funnel of doubt and despair and ridicule and mocking of your sacred, cherished belief systems. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, what's the problem with that? Shouldn't your ideas regularly be challenged? And shouldn't if your faith and your ideology is strong, shouldn't it be able to hold up against all the criticism? So why should it even be a problem?
Well, I mean, those people who are saying that are probably not inviting the missionaries in to talk to them about the gospel. I'm just going to put that out there. They probably that's probably a double standard at that point, right? Like if we're going to challenge all ideas equally, are they going to leave the same room for pro LDS content as they will anti LDS content? I don't think so, right? I think that's definitely a double standard there. And yeah, I mean, you have to be careful with letting your kids on social media at all, because they're 2 clicks away from Alyssa Grenfell showing everyone her temple clothing and mocking the temple, the sacred ordinances of the temple. Like it's pretty gnarly. So you got to be really careful with your kids and what they're exposed to, because eventually you'll have time to teach your children, and they'll be able to be strong enough to confront these ideas with a sound testimony, with reason and logic, and with faith.
Yeah.
That's the goal. The goal is not to shelter them from it. The goal is to have enough time to show them the contradicting ideas of other people and help them understand where their belief system falls in all of that. That's what you need time to do. And you don't need your 11-year-old on Instagram getting this, right? Like,
yeah, I
that's
think
not what you need.
That's the first takeaway is, young kids should not be on social media, period. Not only because they might see anti-doctrine and anti-content and all of that, like that alone is its own thing, but because of the increasing studies showing how detrimental social media content in general is on the mental status of youth. So there are so many mental, emotional, and spiritual problems that can arise from just being and engaging regularly on social media. Even if you don't follow any kind of church or religious people, any kind of content like that on social media, you can still walk away with anxiety and eating disorder and depression.
21-year-old Sophie Chev clearly remembers the moment she joined social media. It was the day of her 10th birthday party.
I was someone that grew up pretty heavily bullied and someone that struggled to fit in socially. So when my peers told me that there was this app that they were downloading to stay connected to each other, to expand their social life, I thought that if I downloaded it, it would help me fit in too.
She downloaded Instagram and followed a few other students. But Sophie says when she turned to the Explore page, she saw content from accounts she didn't follow. And when she started clicking on posts about models and weight loss, she says it took a turn.
It went from swap out a candy bar for a carrot to this is how to hide your food, how to avoid eating completely.
Sophie says the content helped lead to her eating disorder. She was hospitalized 13 times, starting at the age of 15, when her doctor delivered this dire warning.
He looked me in the eyes and said, the insurance called and asked for your prognosis. And I had to tell them that you are going to die in the next couple of weeks. Your heart, liver, kidneys, they're all failing.
Sophie made major changes in her life, and she's in a healthier place now, going to therapy and taking a 2-year break from social media. And her story is not unique.
For that, I would say definitely just get your kids off of social media. There's a reason why, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like the main founders behind a lot of the major social media companies do not let their kids onto social media. You know?
No, barely even using technology at all. You know, a lot of specialized schools in San Francisco where it's all paper and pencil, right? Like it's all as basic as you can get because they know they have the science and the data to back up how destructive it can be. And to this to this woman's response here, or to her credit is what I should say, to this woman's credit, a lot of members don't understand that the algorithm can be hijacked this easily. Right? Like they don't understand how easy it is for someone like her to inject her content into the pro LDS sphere. So she's partially right. Not a lot of us understand the dangers there, but she's also super wrong because she's the one doing it and no one's attacking her. Everyone's defending against her injection. So
right. So this reminds me of a couple of different stories. So first of all, it reminds me of, like if your kid is young, they're impressionable, they get onto social media. Well, guess what? You remember Star Wars? Senator Palpatine. Did he target an old, wise, Yoda-like Jedi who was seasoned and experienced? No. He targeted Anakin, who was young and impressionable and going through a lot and going through a really tough time because he was like, this is my puppet. This is my next man. And he was able to corrupt Anakin over time and completely change his worldview. Just through the seeds of doubt he was able to sow over the years after befriending him. So there's one example. Getting back to your point earlier, there's one little point I wanted to make. The Savior himself told us that by their fruits ye shall know them. That's how we're supposed to judge. And so I think another reason to keep youth off of social media is not only showing them the fruits of teenagers being on social media and all the mental chaos that can cause, but also by saying you need enough time in your life so that you can actually experience the fruits of living the gospel. Because when you're at home, you're basically going to be living off of borrowed light and shared light from your parents, more times than not. It isn't until you're out on your own that you get to experience the fruits of the gospel in real time. For that reason, give your youth some time to experience the fruits of the gospel, because then they can discern more easily between right and good and evil and wrong, But if they haven't had time to really experience the fruits of the gospel, then they're not going to be able to know which person is right. They won't be able to see like the kind of despair and anguish and mental chaos and turmoil that ideologies like that can lead to. So there is in Lehi's vision, where the iron rod, it led through a lot of mists of darkness. And when the mist of darkness gets super thick and clouded, what is the way that how can you tell if you're holding on to the iron rod? It's through feeling. That's the only way that you can tell if you're holding on to the iron rod at that point. And it's not to say that, just only rely on feelings for your whole life. It's like, no, just hang on to that feeling until you can get through those mists of darkness. Age will get you there. Years and experience will step by step get you through the mists of darkness and get you into a brighter and clearer day that you might not have if you just let go and say, no, I'm wrong. I got to go down this other path over here, and you get spooked and you go down there and then you lose it all,
Yeah, that'll lead you straight into your closet, cleaning it frantically, trying to escape an existential crisis.
The existential closet anxiety. It's a classic case of that. Yeah.
Classic case, yeah.
But the other story that this reminds me of is, and I might do a deeper dive on this later, The Jungle Book. Okay, so Mowgli, he was raised in the jungle by wild animals who had no sense of morality or anything like that, and there were, and basically he had to just kind of fend for himself. And he was able to make a good attempt at it, but eventually, at a certain point, the tiger wanted to kill him, and the tiger throughout Shere Khan, the entire movie, is learning about Mowgli and then step by step getting closer and closer and closer to Mowgli. And during that time, the animals that have some sense of Mowgli's best interests at heart are saying, Mowgli, get back to your community. Go. Get out of here. You should not be here. And Mowgli's like, no, I can handle it. I can be fine. I'm all right. And then eventually it winds up where Mowgli's just sitting with a bunch of vultures, and just hanging out with them. He's out of his luck. And then Shere Khan comes to attack. And at that point, it was only an act of divine intervention via lightning bolt that started the fire that scared Shere Khan off and convinced Mowgli, like, I need to get back to my village. My community is the only place that's safe for me right now. And so I would say there are some interesting parallels there that I would point to parents. If you have youth, I would say keep them out of the jungles of social media and keep them safe inside their communities until they're old enough that they can go out there on their own and experience it from the lens of discernment and experience and judgment and virtue and not through the mists of darkness. So for that reason, we call this gal to consider the path of her feet. This kind of content, getting in front of everybody else, I mean, it's destructive. You used to have to go to the conference center to find this kind of content. People would scream at you and try and get you to take their pamphlets and say, but you don't need that. You don't need that anymore. It's like, and kids would be scared back then. They'd be like, Dad, what do I do? And the dad would just be like, let's go to conference. That's what you do. And so that's what I would say. Parents, make sure that you're aware of what your children are watching and viewing on social media. Get them off of social media, get them out of the jungle, and get them into the safe community that the church provides. So, for that reason, we call her to consider the path of her feet.